Test, test. Adam, can you hear me? Nick? Can you hear me okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go for another year. Are we ready? Good. It's so wonderful to see you all. Welcome to the 2023 Global CCCM Cluster Meeting and here to Geneva. It's fantastic to see you all. Now, before I go any further, I think I need to address the elephant in the room, which is the question on all your lips. What is this guy doing here again? It's fair. It's a fair question. First, he's on our computer screens. Then we go to Istanbul and he turns up there. And now we come to Geneva and he's back. Why didn't we leave him in the Bosphorus? Well, there's method behind the madness. See, 3 years ago, I worked with the CCCM Global Cluster to help them develop their strategy for the coming 3 years. And 3 years later, here we are thinking about how far we've come and where we go next. And the whole of this meeting will be linking back to the strategy. So in plenary sessions, we'll be doing a lot of activities around strategy, and we'll be using all of your experience and your knowledge to draw on that. And then we'll have breakout sessions. And in each of the breakout sessions, we'll also be covering a wide range of topics, but thinking about how those connect to strategy and what we need to think about going forwards. So I'm sorry for two things. One, I'm sorry because you've got me again. And two, I'm sorry because you can't just sit there and listen, I'm afraid. We need you to think and communicate and share and get involved, because together we are going to take some big first steps towards developing the CCCM cluster strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. Is that okay? Oh dear, look at that, they're all asleep. Okay, let's do something very quickly to wake you up then. If this is your very first cluster meeting, stand up. And let's welcome our newbies. Welcome, newbies. If this is your second cluster meeting, stand up. The not so newbies. What about if this is your third cluster meeting? And if it's your fourth? Now we're getting some experienced heads in the room. And what if it's your fifth cluster meeting? Or what if, you know what, you can't even remember which one it is? If it's somewhere between 5 and 10, stand up. Hey! And 10 plus? Wow, okay. So someone help these guys to lunch if you can, because they need the assistance. So before we begin, I just want to share a few housekeeping issues with you. So let's do it as it should be done. So accountability first, information and communication. If you didn't hear our announcement earlier, there is interpretation available between French and English and French. If you'd like that, please just see Joe, who is the person typing on her phone and now standing up and waving over there. Let's look at wash. So we're trying to be more environmentally friendly, so there are not going to be plastic bottles of water on all the tables. Instead, in your goodie bag, you will have a cup, as demonstrated here at the front. Ta-da! And there are water fountains all over the building. There are some just out here through the doors. So please feel free to hydrate. Go and get your water from a water fountain and carry it with you in your cup. Sanitation. There are bathrooms across the foyer, opposite, and also diagonally across the foyer. And if those are really busy, you can take a corridor all the way behind, back here. Some of the sessions we'll be doing are on the first floor, and there are bathrooms opposite the rooms, and there are also some others down a corridor that way too. I'm sure you'll find them. Food security. Coffee will be available at certain breaks, and it will just be in the foyer, so you can't miss that at all. And lunch is taking place in the cafeteria, which is just at the back of the foyer. Now, this is important. We've got a very well-designed registration system, and you all have a coupon. It's in your bag. You need that coupon to get your lunch. If you haven't got your coupon, or you can't find it, or you've lost it, please see one of our esteemed team. You've already met Joe. We have Amabel and Clara over there. Wave, please. Amabel with the camera, and Ruxy here. And you can grab me, and I think Elisa's over here. Elisa too. So if you're in need of anything, go and find these people. And I don't think Paul or Helen would let me get away without giving you fire safety as well. So as you can see, there are two big doors on this side of the room. In the event of a fire, you can exit through there, or you can go out into the foyer and through the main door. When we get up onto the first floor, there are various signs there. Please follow those, or look at me and try to keep up. I'll be running very quickly out of the building. Okay, I'm not going to go any further. I'm now going to hand over to, firstly, some words from UNHCR Director of Division of Resilience and Solutions, Sajad Malik. Unfortunately, Sajad couldn't be with us today, so I'm going to ask Dare to read his introductory words for us. Thanks, Dare.
Colleagues, good morning. It's still morning time. Charlie, thank you for the introduction. And yes, we tried our best to leave him in the Bosphorus in Turkey, in Istanbul last time. But he is in demand, and we wanted him to be here because many colleagues have been missing him. And we are glad again to have you with us facilitating this session, Charlie. And colleagues, welcome. First of all, I am not Sajjad, just to be very clear. Sajjad is the director. I am not yet the director. Sajjad sends his regrets. He had, unfortunately, a pre-commitment, and he tried his best to be here to be present in this opening, but he could not. He spent the night, believe it or not, writing this speech, this opening, to welcome you. So I'm just reading this on behalf of Sajjad Malik, UNHCR's Director of Resilience and Solution. Colleagues, good morning. Welcome to the Global CCCM annual meeting. This is an opportunity for us to engage, share experiences, and forge collaboration pathways in our collective pursuit to effective coordination with a single objective, which is providing better services and pursue more durable solutions to the IDPs affected by the crisis wherever you are operating or wherever you are supporting the operations from. This esteemed gathering serves as a unique chance for us to come together as a diverse community of practitioners, policymakers, humanitarian organizations, and experts from around the globe. We gather under a shared commitment to addressing the complex challenges faced by displaced population and ensuring their safety, dignity, and well-being in camp and camp-like setups. By fostering an inclusive and collaborative environment, we can collectively shape the trajectory of camp coordination and management and contribute to meaningful solutions for displaced populations worldwide. Together, in this event, we will delve into the interaction as effective coordination mechanisms, explore strategies for sustainable camp operations, tackle protection challenges, and embrace innovative approaches that leverage technology and best practices. By intertwining our expertise, we can make great strides towards creating safe and supportive environment for those who have been uprooted from their homes. As we embark on this journey together, let us approach each session with an open mind, a willingness to learn, and unwavering commitment to the principle of humanity, impartiality, and neutrality. By fostering strong partnerships, exchange knowledge, and aligning our efforts, we can collectively empower the displaced population and pave the way for a better future for the people we serve. Thank you, and I wish you a successful and inspiring gathering and a good event. Sajjad Malik, I'm reading it on his behalf. Now, I hand over the floor to Federico. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajjad. You look a lot like Dare. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Federico Soda, who is Director of Department of Operations and Emergencies at IOM. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's my third day on the job. So in the other building, our headquarters, I still have people welcoming me, and here I am welcoming you. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to extend a particularly warm welcome to all of our partners in this sector. As IOM, we are deeply committed to our role as cluster co-lead and in supporting the humanitarian community and government entities to avert, minimize, and address displacement in disasters, climate, or conflict. And to achieve this, obviously, partnerships are key with you and with others, many, many others who are not in the room, international, national, and local actors and partners. We take our responsibility as co-lead to you and our stakeholders very seriously. And this includes, of course, the work that we do with our co-lead partners to collectively strengthen the capacities of the humanitarian community. The number of displaced persons, as I'm sure you know, keeps going up every year. We now have a dedicated global agenda on the durable solutions to displacement to try and get, I think, organized a little bit better around the issue so that this number doesn't continue to balloon. And clearly no one should be displaced, and people should be given options to prepare themselves or to empower themselves to face the crisis. Unfortunately, we know that due to the climate and environmental changes, we're likely to see increasing levels of displacement, but camps should be the last resort. We also need to work, therefore, not just on preparedness, mitigating these risks, but very much on solutions and basically holistic approaches to displacement. We must prioritize preparedness by working together with partners and with governments. And I think there's a huge amount of work that needs to be done with governments in preparing for events that may or will lead to displacements. This brings me to my next point about our beneficiaries and the people that we serve. The work of the CCCM is very much people-based and service-based, and this needs to remain at the core of what we do. I think that there's a lot that obviously is being done, but that needs to continue with respect to engagement with local communities and the localization and the empowerment of these communities and individual beneficiaries so that they also have a greater voice and a greater say into what the solutions are or might be. We need to ensure, therefore, that people remain at the very center of the work of the CCCM responses and the CCCM work. Now, some of the areas that I think could be priorities and are definitely priorities for IOM are going to be continuing work on capacity building of key partners and stakeholders, government and non-government actors, particularly, again, I'm emphasizing over and over the local level. My sense is that in many countries, the work of the CCCM is not well understood. This too requires more attention in terms of understanding of the work and the perception of the cluster and the work of the actors in the clusters. To do this, we need to work more closely with these stakeholders. The second point is partnerships, and as emergencies and disasters become more and more complicated, multifaceted, intertwined with pre-existing vulnerabilities, risks, we need to continue to explore how to strengthen not just our own collaboration, but collaboration with new actors. And I think that there's a lot of scope and a lot of room for innovation and new partnerships on preparedness, contingency planning, and solutions. Finally, we need to ensure consistent quality programming. And we need to promote and raise the minimum standards globally on camp management. This year, we're going to have the new strategy. I hope that you will be active participants, providing valuable inputs to this, so that you can be a bigger part of driving the work forward of the cluster. And I'm very, very happy that you're going to have the next couple of days to discuss all these issues and drill down in some of these very, very important issues. With that, I wish you a very fruitful discussion. I'm very happy to have joined you this morning. It's my first, let's say, public engagement since taking up my assignment. I hope that in the coming years, I will have the opportunity to work more closely with all of you, meet more of you, and do what I can to strengthen the work of the cluster and to strengthen the work of the cluster system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Federico, and also for the words from Sajad. Now let's hear from our Global Cluster Coordinators. So Juan Sopompanic, but first, Hayo.
Well, now I'm back to myself. It was an interesting journey to be Sajad for a few minutes. I was about to give myself some leave and promotion, but there was no time, unfortunately. I could not connect to the internet. So, in this session, Juan and myself will give a quick presentation on where are we as global CCCM cluster and as CCCM cluster in multiple operations, whether the cluster is officially activated or not. And I think this is important. In some countries, we don't have official activation of CCCM, but we have many CCCM-like setups which are equally important for us to support. I will start with the operations. Elisa, if I may go for the first slide. Voila, that's good. So, where are we in 2023? We have made some significant progress, which we will go through now, but first, who are we serving? There are 22 million people who are in need of CCCM activities and assistance. Those people are in the HRPs, of course, in the documents that we have been sharing with the humanitarian community, with the different actors, coming from 23 operations. The CCCM cluster has been activated in multiple countries in the past. We always say that for us, it's not a matter of number of how many clusters we have, but it is a reflection of the needs for CCCM and CCCM-like activities. We have been the largest cluster activated among all the others in the past 2 years.
as a cluster. In some countries, the cluster should have been activated long ago, like DRC. We finally managed and succeeded to activate it. In some other countries, like Ukraine, like Haiti, we have been trying to activate it and activated finally in the recent months. Now, it is not a good news, it's horrific to read, but 17 million IDPs in these 23 operations live in sites, whether they are formal or informal camps. And we are proud to, as Federico was saying, to empower the partnership. We are proud that we are working with 271 partners in these 23 operations. Next slide, please, Elisa. So just to go a little bit more, dwell more into the size. Sometimes people say that we don't support camps, where actually we are the first as CCCM to ensure that we don't create camps and we don't make them as a pull factor. But we have to uphold the dignity of the people. In many cases, we did not do it, but the people had no other choice and the option but to establish sites for themselves. So this actually gives an analysis of the planned camps that represent only 26% of the total areas we are supporting. It's 1/4. The rest are composed of self-settled camps. This is the largest percentage, the largest portion of the IDP size. It is when the IDPs go and there's no other solution, they establish sites for themselves. And then we find ourselves in this unfortunate situation as actors to provide assistance in these locations. Then, as you see, the collective centers still represent 28, but then at least the 15% is, loudly, reception and transit centers. So still some sites are established for a shorter period, reception and transit centers. We try now not to keep the people here, to help them move to better locations, but still a significant percentage of people live in these very temporary centers. Next slide. So, another very interesting thing is, while we are discussing about solutions, as again, Federico mentioned, the number of IDP is increasing. Conflicts are expanding, unfortunately. The countries which are already witnessing conflicts, more displacement are occurring in these areas. So, to be able to meet this, we needed to expand our partnership. So now, still, the local actors in all these operations represent nearly 60% of our partners, and the international partners represented by NGOs are about 40% of the partnerships we have. We have increased in the past year our partnerships by 20%, and unfortunately the number of IDPs increased by 30%. It's a big percentage. 30% is a big percentage. In 3 years, it will be 100%. It will double if it continues with this rate. So a very important thing while we are discussing solutions as we go for all of us, to also see the reality. We are trying to reduce it. We are trying not to go it, to make it become 60%, but 30% in 1 year as an increase is a scary figure. Next, please. Now, we try always to not talk about the budget. It's not something we say that we want to advocate, but definitely CCCM has been trying to work hard to bring more recognition for the needs of the IDPs. We have been together from the global perspective, but more the lead force from your side, from the working groups that we have at the global level, with the expertise, with the support of the authorities, we have managed to bring more attention to CCCM work. And we have been steadily increasing our portion in the humanitarian response plan. This does not tell the exact funding. We cannot really tell how much funding was given against our request, but this at least tells what the humanitarian coordinators, in collaboration with the authorities and the governments, have acknowledged as the requirement for the CCCM budget. And then the projects are going. We are still not in the end of the year, so we cannot tell the funding, but we have been steadily increasing. As you can see, from nearly 340 million, now we are at 600 million. So basically, it is a little bit less than double, but it's a very significant increase in the budget of the CCCM, which again tells and shows how much the needs are significant in the different operations. Now,
I think that's my cue.
that's your thing, okay? Because I was saying I'll pass the floor to Juan, but I just wanted to tell that, as you can see, the CCCM, even more than other clusters, is very much data dependent. We tell many different actors on the situation of the IDPs, whether the numbers are increasing or decreasing, in which kind of setups they are living. I, once again, thank you for providing this data, the different clusters and different partners, and I think we should work even harder to make more valuable analysis available to the humanitarian community in general. Juan, over to you for the even more interesting presentation.
Thank you, Der. And a big greeting and good morning to everyone as well. It's always great to have so many people, and considering how early you turn up, you're clearly all very excited to be here as well. So, and you know, I'm going to share some of the work we've been doing as a global CCCM cluster. But of course, I mean, we couldn't have done it without you know, and I think your contribution and engagement over the years have really helped us do what we can to support your job. So I'm going to share, it's been a pretty busy year. Thank you. We've been working, obviously, to update the look and the website for the cluster. We want to make sure that you're able to access information and the tools and other different examples that you need. We've also worked with the joint interagency analysis framework in order to improve the way in which we do our, you know, calculating the people in need, and also look at how we can classify the need, like severity ranking of the need. I mean, CCCM is a cluster. The challenge is that we're looking at communities at the community scale, while the other clusters are looking at either individual or family. So trying to harmonize and make sure that we're able to speak the same language when we say what's the need of the cluster has been, like, I think it's taken up a lot of Elisa and Brian's time. I think over the last, I don't know how many years this has been going, 5 years or so. We have also continued to expand upon the collaboration work with other clusters, obviously with an AOR. So you're going to hear more about the work we've been doing with HLP AOR, the Housing, Land, Property Rights. We have one of the breakout sessions that's going to show us the toolkit. We're very excited to share. We've also started engagement with Child Protection also to develop a joint workshop material around, especially around identification and safe referral for people at risk of, for child protection risks. I hope I said that right, Agnes. And also we work with the Alliance for Child Protection in Humanitarian Action to create e-learning module on CCCM and child protection. And of course, we also been working a little bit with education cluster as well, looking at topics like the use of school as collective center, which will also be another breakout session later in the week. We work, as I think you've heard messages from both Federico and Sajjad, that localization and partnership is so important. This year, actually we started last year, the cluster have also commissioned the work to look at where we are on localization. What are the key challenges and opportunities for us? And what does localization actually mean in the context of CCCM framework? And then we have a whole bunch of other really exciting stuff that we're also working on. I mean, you might be less excited on the cluster coordinators toolkit, but we're definitely working to improve how we approach and make sure that we have consistent deliverable in providing that services to the broader CCCM community. And being such a cross-cutting cluster in nature, obviously the coordination piece is really important for us as well. So thank you, Kate, for wading through the documents and also chasing after us for feedback. I think IOM, UNHCR, and also our ACTED colleagues have also been wading through the global training package as we work to review and update it, obviously given a lot of different development that has been going on within CCCM, but also in the broader humanitarian sector. And we've also been working on the Cluster IM handbook, and I know that Brian and Lisa are going to be asking you for inputs as well on what you would want to see in an online learning for Cluster IM as well. And then I think we're now going to have some updates from the working group under the global cluster. Yes, sorry, just to give you a look of what the new cluster look like, considering the amount of work we've been doing on it from with both Elisa and Brian, and also the different working groups that have been updating the information. We can also be found, of course, on various social media platforms with the handle CCCM Cluster. So now I'm going to be asking the different working group chairs and co-chairs to come and give you a short 2-minute updates from what they've been working on. And I think we're going to start with participation. Next, please, Elisa.
Hi, I'm Giovanna from NRC. So the participation in displacement working group. So the work of this year has been mainly focusing on supporting the development of the Community Engagement Forum. The Community Engagement Forum is a community of practice, mainly for CCM practitioners, but I'm open to all humanitarian practitioners on community engagement and participation. We will have chance to talk about it during the next days. Together with the Community Engagement Forum, let's say from 2022, we focus on engagement with population on the move. Probably you remember that we had, those of you that were last year in Istanbul, you remember we had one session during the retreat. And then we kept working on it, and we developed a tip sheet on engaging with population on the move. And then lately, we focus on community-led projects. We will have a session about it very shortly after lunch. And then there will be some follow-up on the session of today on community-led project. And I hand over to Adi. Thank you.
Thanks, Giovanna. So my name is Maddie. I am from ACTED, and I co-chair the Capacity Development Working Group. So what have we done in the last year? We have done a lot of dissemination of findings of last year's Learning Needs Assessment. Sorry for the acronym. Shouldn't have put an acronym in the slide. So this is what we heard from you about what your learning needs are. We've made a lot of linkages with other training packages, with the global training package, and links with other capacity development networks. So we are linked into this kind of interagency learning and development network. So we can not only improve the content, but improve the kind of technical way that we implement capacity development, which, as we know, is a massive component of what we do. The big ticket item has been the updating of the training modules, which Juan just mentioned, and this has been a real labor of love. And we really wanted for these to be ready to unveil at this meeting, but unfortunately, they're not quite ready yet. So watch this space for updates on the unveiling of the new training package. However, just a small plug, there will be a session tomorrow looking at a bit of a sneak peek of the new training package. So please come along to that if you are interested, and especially if you're a trained trainer. And we've also this year been doing we've committed to doing annual learning needs assessments to make sure that as the contexts where we're working change, as the situation on the ground changes, that we have a solid understanding from you guys what are your learning needs, essentially, and how can we best support you? So we've already undertaken the first phase of this, and watch your inboxes shortly for the second phase of the 2023 Learning Needs Assessment. Thanks.
Well, I see I put up a lot of points, but that's because obviously it's extremely important to address the challenges on environment and also the transition to renewable energy in our operations. It's needed for everything we do, and half of my working time goes on providing your operations with access to both people and advice on clean energy. But in the working group, it was easier during COVID to hold meetings and so on. But now we're back to basics. But we have been contributing to the guidance on environment and energy on the minimum standards, and also this is strongly supported by the clear communication from donors like ECHO that the environmental concerns needs to be part of your proposals because they regard it as a requirement, not nice to know. And we have gathered quite a bit of case studies on renewable energy in humanitarian operations and made some films with the GPA and also IOM and NORCAP, and then we've contributed to the capacity building modules both on the environment and energy and also on the DRR that kind of falls under the work group, and yeah, we do have quite a lot of capacity to extend this support, and we hope for your engagement to also reach out to us and see what kind of support you may have on transitioning from fossil fuels and also on the broader environmental ambitions.
Hi everyone, I'm Elena. I recently took over from Annika, the co-chairing of the area-based approach working group that I co-chair with Giovanna. I'm with IOM. And so this is also a good opportunity for me to introduce myself to you since I'm very new in this position. What we work on this year, well, we, and credit goes to Annika as well here, develop an ABA CCM training outline. Some of you actually contributed to review the outline and share valuable inputs, for which I thank you. So we incorporated your inputs, and we developed a draft training package that we piloted in Afghanistan. If you want to hear more about this training package and the pilot in Afghanistan, please join us tomorrow. We have a session straight after lunch. We will go through the content of the training package. We will hear from colleagues that works in Afghanistan, their impression on the training package, and we will also use your input to move forward with the training package development and release, hopefully. Also, to celebrate the new website, we compiled in a document links to all the resources that the working group has been working on for the last 4 years. This means links to documents, but also to webinars and online presentations done also by some of you during the practitioners' days, for example. So if you don't have time to browse on the YouTube page of the cluster, we did it for you, so you find all the links in one document. Also, come and find us tomorrow during the marketplace. We have some hard copy and also soft copies of resources on ABA CCCM for you.
So you just remind me a few updates I forgot. I think next one is Tom.
Tom Stark from Danish Refugee Council. So for minimum standards in camp management, we've been working a lot with the creation of training materials, working with REDR. We had hoped to have a certified e-learning course hosted on the Sphere platform, and it is very, very shortly going to be here. Possibly tomorrow, let's see. We have also been working on translation. Last year, we at the retreat, we unveiled the a smaller number of translated minimum standards for camp management. As you can now see, we have a very long list, and if people see a language that is there, that they if they see that their language is not represented there, then talk to us, because these have come from CCCM practitioners as a community, often giving up time for free to provide technical review, and we would like to see this expanded. When we look at languages like Korean, that is stepping out of the normal kind of cluster countries, because we know this is an interagency standard and it reaches far beyond just the cluster. We have continued to mainstream the standards, particularly with the revamp of the CCCM core training package. The standards is much more integrated, I've been told. We've continued to represent the standards within the Humanitarian Standards Partnership. We've had a responsive work plan responding to emergencies. When we look at the translation, Turkish is on the end, because that was an emergency request to have that material done in Turkish. And we have continued efforts to, not necessarily successful yet, but there are at least continued efforts to finance additional support to the upkeep and growth of the standard. And as a plug, after lunch, we are going to look at what does the next 5 years bring. How do we create a strategy and a theory of change that will guide the standards for the next 5 years. Thank you.
A chapter in the Sphere Handbook, right? Is that in soon, Melina?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Melina. I'm with IOM and I provide HLP support for the Shelter and CCCM teams. We have some HLP resource updates. So we have the HLP toolkit for CCCM practitioners that we disseminated earlier this year. And we're starting to get feedback on it and modifying it accordingly. And we'll have a session on the toolkit later for priorities and next steps. They cover there are 4 modules that take you through HLP fundamentals, property restitution and return, women's access to property, and security of tenure. And they're quite engaging. They're available on the CCCM cluster website and IOM's e-learning page. And then we also just completed and started to disseminate HLP rental assistance guidance. Mostly, it's for the LAC region. It's available in Spanish and English, and now we have plans to make it more global guidance and a little bit more broad. And then for administrative updates, we have a new HLP AOR IM advisor to support data and management for operations. Earlier this year, UN Habitat joined the HLP AOR as a co-coordinator, and we hope to be able to provide more HLP support in urban contexts. And then we're continuing to strengthen coordination with the shelter cluster as well.
So I should have mentioned that Jim, who's also one of the chair of the HLP AOR, is joining us a bit later today. So we had asked Melina, who's been supporting on that work, to share that update. I realized that I forgot something also in my update, is that we've been working and developed a number of YouTube videos that are like part of our, one of our communication and awareness raising piece on having more people understand what CCCM does. It's on our YouTube channel. You have, I think now there are like 3 areas of focus. One is just a basic CCCM explainer. One is around participation, and the other one on minimum standards. There are in a couple of languages, so please do check them out. They are very useful, but also to explain to people who don't work in CCCM exactly what we do. And yes, thank you very much for your contributions, whether directly as part of the working group, whether by reviewing some of our suggestions, documents, and guidance, and joining our calls and webinars and various other things over the year. So I'm now going to hand over to Charlie before he takes us to lunch.
Don't say lunch. They won't listen. Okay, what do we like about being in Geneva? Shout out to me, come on. Come on, chocolates, fondue, mountains, lake. Come on, what do we like about being in Geneva? Peace and quiet. Anything else? Cheddar, okay. Anything else? Expensive. That's what we don't like about being in Geneva. What I really like about being in Geneva is there are so many people here. So we're really delighted that we have representatives with us from other clusters, and there'll be other representatives coming and going, and we have representatives from donors and different organizations all based here in Geneva, which is fantastic. So please look out for these people you might not ordinarily interact with, you might not get a chance to speak to. Don't think they look a bit strange, I won't speak to them. Think they look a bit strange, I'll speak to them. That's the way to do it. Just go and give them a hug or handshake maybe, and say hi and introduce yourself. If you are one of these people that's going to be coming in and out, just to ask you to do that as discreetly as you can, because otherwise it can be a little bit disturbing. So apart from it being really expensive, what do we not like about Geneva? What do we not like about Geneva? Say that again, Emma? Bus stops are tremendously confusing. I missed the bus last night. They're so difficult. But there are buses, which is quite good, right? And they roughly run on time. One of the things that I don't like is there are no hotel rooms. It's really hard to find one. And then when you find one, you basically need to mortgage away your life to be able to pay for it. And you say, I think you've got the price wrong. There's an extra digit. And they say, no, that's what it is. But the other thing I find difficult is trying to find rooms where we can work. And we've got this amazing space, which is fantastic, but it comes at a slight cost. It's not really a cost, but just to explain. So this is a religious center. It's the ecumenical center of churches from around the world. We just felt it was important to re-emphasize that the global CCCM cluster is not a religious organization, and we are not here for religious reasons. We're here because it's a great room, and we can afford it. What it also means is that some of the other rooms we have are up a flight of stairs. In fact, all of the other rooms we have. So when we go to breakouts, I'm going to need you to exercise. I'm going to need you to run. Well, don't trip. Walk quickly and go up the stairs really fast. They're just opposite here. And get to those rooms really fast. So all that sort of chatting and meandering and, possibly going for a coffee or something, no time for that here because we've got to go up the stairs. Is that okay? No, Charlie, definitely not. Let's show a couple of slides on the agenda then. If we can go to the next one, Elisa. Firstly, just to say thank you to you. You designed this workshop. So a little while ago, we did a survey and we asked people what needed to be in the workshop, and we got over 300 responses. That's right, over 300 responses. And we broke those down into themes, and there were quite a lot of themes, but we pitched it to the SAG. I pitched it to the SAG, and they said, okay, we'll go with these themes. So you can see there are 9 different themes there. The first 8 all have 3 sessions related to them, breakouts. And then fundraising and advocacy has just 1 session, but it's going to be a really important session. So look out for those colors on the agenda, and each day I'll be telling you about which sessions are coming up. You'll have a chance to go to them. Can we go to the next one? So here's what we're doing today. I'm about to send you to lunch 5 minutes late. And then I'd really like it if you can come back here at 1:30, and I'm going to ask you to work on strategy then. So, all these nice jackets can come off. We're going to work hard on strategy. And then after that, we'll be going to our first breakout rooms. So we can have a look and think about which of those breakouts you're interested in going to. There'll be a short break. Actually not that short, 30 minutes, so a nice long break for you to chat and grab coffee and whatever you need to do. And then we'll be going to another breakout. Now, two other things that came from your design. We got feedback last time that said a couple of things. One was people said, I'm really interested in protection. And all the protection sessions were next to each other, so I can't go to them. So we've shuffled it this time. So we've tried not to put sessions in the same theme next to each other. So if you're interested in one particular theme, you should be able to go to all of those sessions now. The other thing we've done is we've included, and you can see bottom right there, our closed door open discussion session, because last year this was a total hit. So the truth was we didn't have a session. And then Nick at the back there and Juan had a conversation and said, why don't we just put people in a room and let them discuss? They've got all this experience they want to talk about, let's do it. So we just said, okay, we'll close the door, and whatever happens in the room stays in the room. And people loved it. So we have 3 of these this time. There's one each day. So if you want to go to that one and discuss interesting topics, that's the place for you. We'll be telling you ahead of time. The final thing that I want to ask you to do, and this is for after the sessions, is this, right? So every one of our session facilitators is going to be sharing this QR code with you. This asks you 2 things. One, what did you think of that session? Really quickly. It's not a long feedback form. It's like one question. And 2, what does this mean for strategy? So I said at the beginning, we're using this whole workshop to develop strategy, and that needs to come from you. So if you're in a session and you think, you know what, something happened here that was really important, and this is what they should be focused on, this should be in the strategy, just take the code, choose the session it's related to, and say, okay, this is my idea for the strategy. Does that make sense? Everybody happy? Almost. We just need some food, Charlie. Okay, we'll save that for later. Elisa, if you can push that back. Thank you very much for your attention this morning. Thank you for coming. Lunch, as I said, is via your coupon, only via your coupon, and in the cafeteria that's at the end of the foyer. And please be back here in 1 hour and 7 minutes for our next session. Enjoy your lunch.